Many of you know how much of a Shimano diehard I am. However, I've got some interesting opinions on the Shimano Sedona FJ. So in today's video, I'm gonna cover those. Now, before I can go into those and give the features and my overall thoughts, let's go over the specs on the reel that I have right here. Now, this one is the SE 2500 HGFJ. So this one right here is the 2500 size. The gear ratio is 6.2 to 1. The max drag is coming in at 20 pounds. The bearings are 3+1. The weight is 8.5 ounces. Line capacity is 140 yards of 8-pound test and 120 yards of 10-pound test. And the MSRP is coming in at $79.99. Now, as for all of the features on Shimano's website that they list for this reel, the big ones that stick out to me are going to be the Hagane body and gears, the silent drive, and the G-free body. Now, as for looks, they completely redid this reel along with the Shimano Noski. They completely redid that one as well with very similar premise. They really went with the all silver on these reels. This reel is almost completely silver. There's two different tones of silver across the reel. Along with the silver, there is a little bit of black accents in there on the top of the spool and the handle. And then there's also a nice little, it's not even really a gold. It's like a, I don't know, I guess it is gold, but it's a little bit different. It's like a really light colored gold throughout a couple of the spots on the reel, which gives it a really nice touch. Makes it a little bit different from some of the other all silver Shimano reels. Now, as for the versatility and function, Shimano has a ton of different sizes for the Sedona here. What I like about the Sedona, and I'm really glad they did this again, is they have a 500 size, and that is a size that not a whole ton of companies make, at least the companies of the gear that I like to fish. So the 500 is an awesome choice for you ice fishermen wanting something really small, or you ultralight panfish and trout guys. You guys want the lightest reel possible. You don't really care about it being super small. That 500 size is awesome, and I've taken some really big fish on those really small reels. So I think that's cool. They've got a whole bunch of different ones. The 2500 here is the perfect kind of all-around bass reel. You got a 1000 in there for trout, panfish, whole bunch of stuff. And you've also got your 4,000 and 5,000 sizes, which you could use for steelhead. The 4,000 would be a great steelhead reel for especially for a budget steelhead setup. Along with, you know, some of your light inshore saltwater you would be fine with. Shimano does have, in my opinion, they've got much better sealing than Daiwa does. So in terms of like overall amount of salt intake this reel's gonna have, I think it's gonna be a lot less than some of those other reels in this price category. I have people that say, you know, they've commented before and say, Casey, you cannot use these for saltwater. Like, you know, go out and buy a saltwater reel, you know, you're gonna ruin your reels. Guys, I've had Sedonas and other sub $100 reels in the salt a lot of different times. As long as you clean them off heavy with fresh water after each trip, you're gonna be fine for at least a little while. I mean, I wouldn't say if you're heavy saltwater every day, yes, you're gonna just, you know, you're gonna obliterate that reel. But if you're going, you know, a couple times a year, I don't think you need to buy a specific saltwater setup. You can use something like this, spray it off, wash it, and you're gonna be fine. And that's what I've done in the past, and I still have reels from 6-7 years ago that I used in the salt all the time, and they're still working just as good as new. So I get what you guys mean by that, I get it, but you're gonna be fine. If you just wash this off and take care of it, you're gonna be fine for light saltwater use. That being said, if you are looking for a budget Shimano reel that you want to use a lot in the salt, then I do think the Shimano Noski is a better choice. It's like 20-30 bucks more than the Sedona here, but you're getting much better sealant. You're getting overall just a much sturdier reel than this one. So yeah, if you're going all saltwater, you're going majority saltwater, the Noski I think is the better choice. As for the durability and quality, this is where that Hagane body comes into play. This reel is a tank. I mean, this thing feels so strong in your hands. That is one thing that, although the Daiwa LT reels, you know, the LT stands for that light and tough, they are made really tough, don't get me wrong. However, I do think this reel is a little bit, it just feels a little bit sturdier than some of those Daiwa reels like the Regal, the Revros, the Exceller, some of those reels that are in this category. This definitely feels just a little bit tougher than those. If you're really tough on your gear, or you're trying to get a setup for a kid or someone that you know doesn't take care of gear very well, this would be a great reel to give them to pair up on that setup. Now, as for ergonomics and feel, that is where I'm a little more disappointed on this reel. I guess it's not really disappointed. It's not that Shimano changed something up, but it's more of what Daiwa has done. I think overall, the LT reels like the Regal, the Revros, the Exceller, those reels have really started to kick butt in terms of that sub $100 feels like a, $200 reel. Some of those Daiwa reels feel so light and smooth in your hand. And not that this isn't light and smooth, but it's just not light and smooth enough compared to those Daiwa reels. So overall, like I've said before, I am a diehard Shimano fan. I love my Shimano stuff. I probably own more Shimano reels than any other company, but I have been using, for that sub $100 range, I have been starting to go more towards the Daiwa reels, just because what I do, the type of fishing that I do now where I live, is a lot more finesse based. I'm doing trout, crappie, light bass, or finesse bass. Like, I'm using reels that I need, the priority needs to be on sensitivity, lightweight, and smoothness. And the Shimano, like the Sedona and a couple of those reels, just aren't as good as the Daiwa on that. So depending on what you need here, right, the Shimano, the Sedona may be better, or the Regal may be a better option. So it kind of depends on what you're doing. Now, don't get me wrong here. If you take out Daiwa reels, this is still better than 95% of what's on the market. Hands down, potentially 100% of what's on the market, other than Daiwa. So I still think this is a very good reel. I still think it is overall very smooth and sensitive, just compared to some of those Daiwa reels, it's just not hitting that mark. Now, as for casting, I love the spool on this thing. My main thing about spinning reels and casting is, I've said this before, you gotta load them up all the way to the top. Don't overload it, but you definitely don't want to underspool it. You want to have it right on that edge there, so that line just shoots right off of that spool. It's not catching on the bottom, on the top of that spool there. So just spool up your stuff to the max, and you're gonna cast just fine. Now, regarding the price here, I do think for $79.99, I think this is a great reel. I think it's an awesome buy. It's totally worth it. However, I do think if you are wanting a more sensitive, lightweight reel, for that same price range, you can get something much better. Like, even the Daiwa Regal LT is like $10 less than the Sedona, and it's awesome. It is, in terms of like overall sensitivity and smoothness, I think that reel has the Sedona beat. The other thing is, like, if you're wanting saltwater, or you're wanting a reel that's a little more durable, it's got, just a little smoother, a little better features, you can upgrade the $20-30 and go to a Shimano Noski. The Noski is one of my favorite reels of all time. That reel is just a freaking workhorse. So it is kind of in a weird spot here. I think if it was a little bit cheaper, I think I'd have it rated way up there, because it still is better than most reels on the market by far. Like, this thing smokes a Fluger President. Like, I would rather have this than a Fluger President any day of the week and twice on Sunday. I mean, it is so much better. But compared to that Regal, compared to that Exceller, compared to that kind of class, I think I'd rather spend the money and go with a Daiwa if I'm needing finesse. If durability is your number one priority, spend the $80, get the Sedona, you won't regret it. So let's go over the pros and cons of this reel here real quick. As for the pros, the durability is awesome on this. I do really love the new colorway. I love that all silver with just the kind of gold accents. I think it looks really, it looks sweet. Also, the sizing. I love the different sizes. I love how they have that 500 size in there, especially for you ice fishermen. I love that 500 for it. As for the cons here, it's, like I said, it's just not as smooth compared to a few other of the products kind of in that same price range. And keep in mind, by other products, I really just mean Daiwa. Every other company is not making a reel as smooth as this. As for the rating here, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. I think overall, my only gripes are you could go $10 less and get a Daiwa Regal, which is just as smooth, just as sensitive, probably a little bit more than the Sedona, or you could go up another 30 bucks, get the Shimano Noski, and that's one of my favorite reels of all time. So it's kind of in a weird spot in terms of pricing. Not that the reel isn't worth it. I absolutely love this reel, and I think if you've got 80 bucks, you want a super durable Shimano reel, this is the way to go. This is still better than almost everything on the market, which is why it's an 8 out of 10, and it's why I even choose to review it. I don't review bad products. Very rarely will I make a video and knock a product like that heavy that I'm trying to sway you not to buy it. And this is not one of those. I think this is 100% worth it, and if you're the right customer for this product, you should buy it, 100%. This is an awesome reel. If you guys want to see a review video on that Daiwa Regal LT, I'm going to put that video right here for you. If you guys want to see a rod that would pair up really nicely with this Sedona, I'm going to put that right here for you. Hopefully you guys got a kick out of today's episode. We'll see you guys next time on Humbug Videos.